All right, folks, we are doing some garden maintenance, getting things ready here for this coming up spring. We mowed down all of the blackberry bushes. I'm going to let all these come up with fresh new shoots and try to keep it managed this year. Fill in some with wood chips. I'm not maybe going to have as large as a patch, and try to make it to where it's kind of wrapped around this corner so that I can kind of just get around to the face of it, and maybe a little bit down here, just as kind of like an L-shaped patch of blackberries. Those Norwegian blackberries are so good. They're nothing like what you get in your grocery store for sure. We've got our ground dug out and semi-leveled out. This is where I'm going to do a hugel mound. For a while, folks were really debating hard on its robbing you of your nitrogen in your plants because of the breakdown of the wood. And where the soil meets the wood, that is occurring. However, if you don't use wood chips or you don't use other smaller breakable downer carbon sources, that doesn't happen as rapidly. It happens at a much slower pace. And also the fungal networks that are being built into this kind of augment some of that nutrient delivery as well, and provide us area where you can have a decent amount of soil that's above that area where the soil meets the larger wood. So phase one was to kind of dig out our little trench here. So we've kind of got our trench dug out, and we're going to lay in our wood. It's a spongier, already kind of aged wood. It's been in the wood pile for, God, at least 3 years. So it's already ready for this application. They say you don't want to really use a super green wood unless you absolutely have to. So I'm going to go ahead and throw down some logs, and I'll check in with y'all. On to the next one. All right, folks, look at this. We are on to the next one. We've got all of our logs in now. I've used a couple of these recycled Christmas trees from the past. Then I've thrown in some of these aged firewood from around the garden and stuff. So now I'm going to put a very small layer of wood chips in here to kind of get the fungal stuff going, and then I'll start layering on the topsoil. That was a lot of work, kids, but we got it done and we're moving on. So on to the next one, folks. All right, folks, well, we've built up our center with the bits and pieces of old tomato plant and leaves, and put a layer of straw on here. I don't have a ton of like yard leaves, so I'm going to be robbing myself of nitrogen a bit by just using the straw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of this organic amendment here and just kind of lasagna layer this into the actual mound itself. So I'm going to sprinkle a few cups of it right here on this, and then I'll start burying this with some good living soil that I made myself. Got used in flower for one session, but it's still charged up and just now ready to go. So I'm going to get this layered on here with some of this top dress organic amendment, and then I'm going to layer up my soil. Okay, so now we've added our composted material, some of the living soil, and what I've done is I found a bunch of mycelium that had been breaking down. So I dug a bunch of it up and I put it all over this layer here. See how beautiful and healthy and fresh it is. So now, if I wanted to, this mycelium that I placed everywhere that I found wild could actually be some mycelium that I purchased for a narrow fruiting body that I want. However, a lot of people say when you plant in the wild like this, sometimes you have to deal with it being out competed. Where if you do it in like a bin, you have a better chance of inoculating the mycelium that you want. But we've got this all layered up now. And so the final mound will just be a matter of putting on our good, delicious topsoil. All right, folks, on to the next one. All right, we are done. As you can see here, I've used some river paving stones to kind of brace up to keep any kind of erosion in check. And we've got our mound build up here. Looks really nice. And so now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and let the rains come. The rains are going to settle this down. And then when planting season comes, I'll put another 8 inches on top of this with amendments so that it's all charged up and ready to go. But I gotta say, I'm pretty excited. Got the mound. The mound is in check. And we got a good planting space. And this spot, as the summer comes, gets a lot better sun. So we'll be able to do some cool stuff here, folks. But this is the project. We built our little Hügel mound. And on to the next one, folks. And I just want to remind you that you could take a little bit of space, you can grow a little bit of food, and you can augment your nutrition with some nutrient-dense, mineral-dense food. Even if it's just part of your meal or one of your meals, being able to add a little nutrition into your situation is highly, highly advisable. All right, everyone out there, take care of each other. It's not that hard. Growers love.